During favourable conditions, Australia's many species of eucalyptus trees can bloom at any time of the year. Their showy blossoms attract a host of creatures drawn to the rich nectar and pollen. Parrots are drawn to this sweet bonanza as well. Among them, the musk lorikeet. Since eucalyptus and other trees bloom erratically, musk lorikeets are mostly nomadic. They're found wherever trees are flowering in most types of habitat throughout southeastern Australia. They can often turn up unexpectedly in parks and gardens. These birds are taking advantage of a well-planted university campus near the city of Melbourne. A musk lorikeet's diet is varied, and food items such as fruit and insect larvae are eaten whenever available. But like all the lorikeet family, they rely on a constant diet of nectar. Muskies are hyperactive feeders, and they need to be in order to gain enough nutrition from this sweet and powdery substance. Playful and energetic, pairs bond by tussling and grappling in a sort of get-to-know-you treetop wrestling match. When it comes time to nesting, muskies select a tree hollow that is often over water. It's here that they usually lay only 2 eggs. Like most parrot species, the large, recently fledged young beg for a handout whenever one appears available. They're extremely social birds, and for musk lorikeets, close bonds with others are of vital importance to survival. Other lorikeets thrive in Australia's busy suburban areas as well. Just like the musk lorikeet, they're also drawn to the rich nectar from a variety of shade trees. These are purple-crowned lorikeets. And at only 16 centimetres in length, they're one of Australia's smallest parrots. And like all lorikeets, where one is found feeding, others are sure to be close by. Unlike the musk lorikeet, which is strictly an eastern bird, purple crowns inhabit favourable tree areas throughout southwestern Australia as well. These birds were not far from Melbourne's busy airport, but other purple crowns are at home in remote mountain forests in Australia's southwest. Purple-crowned lorikeets can easily contort themselves into any position if it gives them greater access to the delicious nectar and pollen that sustains them. Sometimes it literally seems that they spend most of their lives upside down. Purple crowns are colony breeders, and often more than one nest can be found in the hollows of one large tree. They raise larger families than their relatives the musk lorikeet, often having broods of up to 4 chicks. This is a successful little bird, but without extensive tracts of suitable large trees for feeding and nesting, their numbers will not remain constant. In southeastern Australia, among these mixed flocks of lorikeets, little lorikeets are sometimes present as well. At only 15 centimetres, this is Australia's smallest lorikeet. They're often difficult to see, and no wonder. They typically forage in the uppermost branches of flowering gum trees. With a more restricted range than the purple-crowned, little lorikeets are more sensitive to habitat destruction and are currently being monitored as numbers have decreased. Having already nested during the cooler months of the year, these varied lorikeets are on the move. Highly nomadic and wary, they may not visit this area again for some time to come. Australia has 7 species of lorikeets, small parrots that depend primarily on nectar and pollen for their food. None are as familiar as the flamboyantly coloured rainbow lorikeet. Almost every type of habitat in Australia is home to these brilliantly coloured parrots. From the humid forests of the tropical north to the remote gum forests of Tasmania, rainbow lorikeets seem to be just about everywhere. And there's no place to see rainbow lorikeets quite like the world-famous Currumbin Bird Sanctuary on the coast of southeastern Queensland. Here the attendants load feeding trays with a diluted honey solution, while the birds wait in eager anticipation. The sanctuary was established in 1947 by beekeeper and flower grower Alex Griffiths. Alex began feeding the region's wild lorikeets to prevent them from ravaging his prized blooms. Today, the sanctuary is inundated by up to 1,000 wild, free-flying rainbow lorikeets every day. There's nothing quite like the thrill of having such striking little parrots so up close and personal. This is a major thrill, not just for the little ones. Adults are held captive by the experience as well. Like all lorikeets, rainbows have a specially adapted tongue with barbs and bristles on it. They use it to methodically brush over flowers and blooms while feeding, harvesting the powdery dry pollen and nectar as they go. Of all the parrots, only the lorikeets have this special adaptation. When it comes to feeding, rainbows are also opportunists and partner with an unusual neighbour in their quest for ripe fruit. Fruit bats or flying foxes are often found in the same habitat. As big as a small cat, these huge bats open up the tough skins of mangoes with their sharp teeth. Since they rarely consume all of the fruit they bite into, the lorikeets are free to help themselves. Like all lorikeets, rainbows are flock-orientated. And where there is one, there are almost certain to be several others. While they may prefer each other's company at feeding sites, nesting creates a very different scenario. Flock members that normally feed side by side become fierce competitors for mates and nesting hollows. And this is serious business. Remarkably, despite the intensity of this battle, no one appears to be seriously injured. Rainbow lorikeets' numbers are on the increase. Unwittingly, man has altered their habitat, for where there are people, an increase in flowering plants and trees is sure to follow. No other parrots brighten up so many backyards and gardens to such an extent in Australia. And rainbow lorikeets are definitely here to stay. Joining the boisterous rainbows at these free handouts is another of Australia's lorikeets, the scaly-breasted lorikeet. And just like the rainbow, they too become tame and trusting at these feeding stations. Being smaller and less aggressive than the rainbow lorikeet, this bird has chosen to avoid the competition around the feeding trays and feed on the ground. Named for the coloured feathers shaped like scales on its chest, scaly breasts are much less common and more restricted in range than their larger relative, the rainbow lorikeet. Another distinctive feature is their bright red wing linings, contrasting with their unique all-green coloration. When feeding in the same trees as the rainbows, scaly breasts tend to keep more to themselves. But where frequent contact is common between the two species, they have been known to form mixed couples and successfully produce offspring. Most of the time, though, the rainbows dominate in any encounter. A pair of scaly breasts may pick out a favourite nest cavity, only to find that a pair of rainbows decides that it's theirs. There is no contest in most cases. They may be smaller and not as bold, but scaly breasts bring their own unique beauty to the Australian countryside.